What happens when a fairy tale ends in handcuffs? Elizabeth and Andrei were once the couple everyone adored. Fans loved their chemistry, their journey, and their vows. From the outside, their relationship looked strong and unbreakable. But behind closed doors, a secret was growing. A hidden romance, a hidden lover, a pregnancy, and a betrayal that would completely destroy their marriage. Elizabeth shocked everyone when she announced she was pregnant. But the baby was not Andrei Castrovet's. The father was Joseph. Joseph had been Elizabeth's secret boyfriend for 6 months. While still married to Andrei, Elizabeth was living a double life. Eventually, she told Andrei the truth. She told him she would not stay with him, that she was carrying Joseph's child, and that she would only marry Joseph. Andrei was devastated. He never imagined such betrayal. Soon after, Andrei filed a lawsuit against Elizabeth. He accused her of betrayal and financial fraud. Andrei claimed that because Elizabeth conceived the child while they were still married, the law would recognize him as the legal father. He also claimed Elizabeth had borrowed $55,000 from him. When he asked for the money back, Elizabeth denied ever taking it. In court, evidence and testimonies proved Andrei was telling the truth. The judge ruled that Elizabeth had broken the law and embezzled $55,000. She was sentenced to 5 months in prison. This was not reality TV drama. This was real life. A scandal that turned into courtroom battles, financial fraud, and jail time. Was Elizabeth a victim of love, or was she a master manipulator? From the moment Elizabeth and Andrei appeared on 90 Day Fiancé, viewers were hooked. Their story had everything. Cultural differences, heated arguments, and a love that seemed to survive it all. Elizabeth, the outspoken American with a close-knit family, fell for Andrei, the intense Moldovan man with strong opinions and a protective nature. Their relationship was fiery, but it seemed to work. They got married, had a child, and settled into life in Florida. On social media, everything looked perfect. Elizabeth posted family photos, smiling selfies, and sweet captions. Andrei appeared less often online, but fans still saw him playing with their daughter or cooking in the backyard. But behind the filters, cracks were forming. Andrei struggled to find stable work, which caused tension. Elizabeth's family, especially her sisters, never fully accepted him. Arguments about money, parenting, and culture became normal. Still, they stayed together publicly. Elizabeth defended Andrei in interviews, calling him loyal and misunderstood. Andrei said Elizabeth was his support system. Fans believed they were just another couple dealing with marriage struggles. But something wasn't right. Friends noticed Elizabeth pulling away. She stopped showing up to family events. She was always on her phone, smiling at messages she wouldn't explain. Andrei became more controlling, likely sensing something was wrong. The tension exploded when Elizabeth suddenly canceled a planned family vacation. Andrei was furious. He accused her of hiding something. She denied it. But Elizabeth wasn't just hiding something. She was hiding someone. Joseph. No one knew who he was. No one had seen him. But he was about to change everything. While Elizabeth and Andrei's relationship played out on television, Joseph stayed invisible. But every secret has a heartbeat, and Joseph was the pulse behind Elizabeth's double life. Joseph wasn't just a fling. He was a choice. Elizabeth met him at a charity gala in Tampa while Andrei was visiting family in Moldova. She attended the event alone. Joseph, a charming entrepreneur, struck up a conversation. They connected quickly, talking about travel, books, and their dislike of reality TV drama. What began as harmless texts turned into something more. Soon, they were meeting in quiet coffee shops, hotel lounges, and rented spaces. Elizabeth used work as her excuse. Andrei, busy with job interviews and parenting, never suspected anything. Joseph was everything Andrei wasn't. He listened. He stayed calm. He didn't argue. Elizabeth felt noticed again, not just as a wife or a mother, but as a woman with her own dreams. Joseph encouraged her business ideas, helped her with finances, and even designed a website for her side project. But Joseph had a past. He was recently divorced. His ex-wife accused him of emotional manipulation and financial dishonesty. He had no children and a history of short relationships. Friends described him as charming but untrustworthy. Elizabeth ignored the warnings. She grew emotionally distant from Andrei. Conversations became cold and practical. Intimacy disappeared. Andrei blamed stress and family pressure. He never imagined another man was involved. Joseph grew more confident. He told Elizabeth he loved her. He talked about marriage and a future together. Elizabeth felt torn but made a decision. She stopped wearing her wedding ring. She told Joseph she was ready to leave Andrei. Then she got pregnant. The timing was explosive. Elizabeth was still living with Andrei. They were still acting like a family. But she was carrying Joseph's child, conceived in secrecy. Joseph didn't hesitate. He promised to raise the baby with her. He offered money and suggested they move to another state to start over. Elizabeth agreed. But before she could leave, she had to face the truth. Andrei was about to find out everything. For 6 months, Elizabeth lived 2 lives. During the day, she played the role of devoted wife and mother. She cooked, attended events, and filmed for the show. At night, she became someone else. Someone Joseph knew intimately. Someone who learned how to lie without flinching. It started small. Texts, coffee dates, shared laughter. Then came excuses and secret meetings. Elizabeth claimed she had errands or late work. In reality, she was meeting Joseph in places where no one would recognize her. She changed her habits. She stopped posting photos with Andrei. She avoided filming unless required. Her family noticed the change but blamed stress. Andrei became suspicious. He asked questions. Elizabeth dodged them. He checked her phone, but everything was deleted. Elizabeth became skilled at separating her worlds. Joseph existed in a space untouched by cameras or family. They shared private jokes, secret playlists, and even a journal filled with letters to each other. It felt romantic. It was reckless, and it was about to destroy everything. Andrei became distant as their marriage slowly fell apart. Every day felt heavier than the last. Small issues turned into explosive arguments. They fought about groceries, unpaid bills, and how to raise their child. Andrei accused Elizabeth of pulling away emotionally. Elizabeth accused him of being controlling. Neither of them knew how to fix what was broken. Or maybe Elizabeth already knew she didn't want to fix it. She started keeping a secret calendar. Dates with Joseph were marked using symbols only she understood. She tracked her cycle carefully. She spent hours imagining a future without Andrei. A future where she and Joseph could raise a child far away from the cameras, the pressure, and the chaos of reality TV. Then everything changed. Elizabeth missed her period. She bought a test. It was positive. She didn't tell Andrei. Not at first. She told Joseph instead. Joseph was overjoyed. He promised to support her completely. He said he would be there for every ultrasound, every craving, every emotional moment. Elizabeth cried, not because she was scared, but because she felt relieved. In her mind, the choice was finally clear. But secrets like this don't stay hidden for long. Elizabeth's body began to change. Her moods shifted. She became tired and distant. Andrei noticed. He asked if she might be pregnant. She lied, but the truth was closing in. The walls she had built were starting to collapse. One evening, Elizabeth sat Andrei down. She looked him straight in the eyes and spoke words that would haunt him forever. She told him she would not stay with him. She told him she was carrying Joseph's child. And she told him she would only marry Joseph. Andrei was speechless. In that moment, Elizabeth crossed the line there was no coming back from. The truth always finds a way to surface. For Elizabeth, it came in the form of 2 pink lines. For weeks, she had hidden the pregnancy. She wore loose clothing, avoided intimacy, and brushed off questions about her health. Andrei noticed everything. The mood swings, the food aversions, the exhaustion. He asked if she was okay. She said she was just tired, but the signs were impossible to ignore. One night, Andrei walked into the bathroom and saw a pregnancy test in the trash. It was positive. His heart began to race. He confronted her immediately. His voice shook as he asked if she was pregnant. Elizabeth froze. This wasn't how she planned to tell him, but there was no escape now. She sat him down, took a deep breath, and told him the truth with brutal honesty. Yes, she was pregnant. But the baby was not his. It was Joseph's. Andrei's world collapsed. He stared at her in disbelief. The woman he built a life with. The mother of his child. His partner in front of millions of viewers. She had betrayed him emotionally, physically, legally, and publicly. Elizabeth didn't cry. She didn't beg. She stayed calm, almost cold. She told Andrei she had been seeing Joseph for 6 months. She said she loved him. She said she was leaving. She said she would marry Joseph and raise the baby with him. Andrei couldn't speak. His hands shook. His voice cracked when he asked why. Elizabeth said she felt suffocated. She said Joseph made her feel alive. She said the marriage had been broken for a long time. The betrayal was complete. Andrei left the house that night. He drove with no destination, replaying every moment of their relationship, every sacrifice, every argument, every time he defended Elizabeth to her family. It all felt fake now. Elizabeth packed a bag and moved into a rental apartment Joseph had arranged. She didn't look back. She posted a vague quote on Instagram about hard choices and beautiful destinations. Fans noticed. Rumors spread. But no one knew the full truth yet. Andrei, shattered and angry, began collecting evidence. Text messages, emails, bank records. He wasn't just heartbroken anymore. He was furious, and he was preparing for a fight. Before the legal battle even began, the emotional damage spread through both families. Elizabeth's sisters were furious. Her mother cried. Her father stayed silent. Andrei's friends surrounded him, calling Elizabeth a traitor and Joseph a homewrecker. The pregnancy revelation had exploded, and the fallout was only beginning. Andrei had always seen himself as strong and protective, but Elizabeth's confession broke him in ways he never expected. That night, he didn't just lose his wife. He lost his grip on reality. He drove through Tampa's empty streets, replaying her words again and again. I will not stay with you. I am carrying Joseph's child. I will only marry Joseph. It felt unreal, like a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. Andrei didn't sleep. He sat in his car until sunrise, staring at the dashboard. When he finally returned home, Elizabeth was gone. Her closet was half empty. Her toothbrush was missing. On the kitchen counter was a note. It said she was sorry and that she had to choose herself. Andrei crushed the note without finishing it. The days that followed blurred together. Andrei stopped filming. He ignored calls from producers. He refused to speak to Elizabeth's family. His daughter asked where her mother was. Andrei had no answer. He spiraled. Friends tried to help. They brought food. They encouraged therapy. They stayed close. But Andrei wasn't ready to heal. He was consumed by anger. At Elizabeth. At Joseph. At the network. At himself. He started searching for answers. He went through Elizabeth's laptop, her emails, her drafts. He uncovered deleted messages, hidden folders, hotel receipts. The affair was deeper than he ever imagined. Joseph had even sent Elizabeth money, disguised as business support. Andrei felt humiliated, but humiliation turned into determination. He wasn't going to stay silent. Andrei contacted a lawyer and laid everything out. The affair, the pregnancy, the money, the emotional damage. The lawyer listened carefully, then asked a question that changed everything. Had Elizabeth borrowed money from him during the marriage? Andrei paused. Yes, $55,000 for her business. She promised to pay it back. The lawyer asked if there was proof. Andrei said yes. Text messages, bank transfers, everything. That was the moment everything shifted. Andrei wasn't just a betrayed husband. He was potentially a victim of financial fraud. And under Florida law, because the pregnancy happened during the marriage, Andrei could legally be considered the father of the unborn child. It was time to go to court. Andrei filed a lawsuit against Elizabeth. He accused her of betrayal, emotional distress, and embezzlement. He demanded the return of the $55,000 and requested legal clarification regarding the baby's paternity. The media exploded with the story. Headlines spread everywhere. A reality TV marriage had turned into a legal war. Elizabeth, now visibly pregnant and living with Joseph, denied the financial accusations. She called Andrei bitter and vindictive, but the evidence continued to pile up, and a court date was set. Andrei had changed. He was no longer just a broken husband. He was determined, focused, and ready to fight. He wasn't only seeking justice, he was seeking redemption. The courtroom battle was still weeks away, but the emotional trial had already begun. Andrei hadn't spoken to Elizabeth since the night she confessed. His messages went unanswered, his calls ignored. The silence was deafening. Andrei's calls went unanswered. His messages stayed unread. The silence felt louder than any argument they had ever had. Each day without a response hardened something inside him. What once was grief slowly became resolve. As the court date approached, Andrei focused on preparing his case. He met regularly with his lawyer, organizing documents, timelines, and financial records. Every bank transfer told a story. Every text message confirmed promises Elizabeth had made and later denied. The $55,000 wasn't a gift. It was a loan, clearly discussed, clearly acknowledged. Andrei had trusted his wife. That trust had cost him everything. Elizabeth, meanwhile, tried to build a new life with Joseph. On the surface, it looked like a fresh start. They attended doctor appointments together. Joseph furnished the apartment. He posted vague photos online, never showing Elizabeth's face, but hinting at happiness and new beginnings. Elizabeth stayed mostly silent, avoiding interviews and limiting her social media presence. She told friends she was finally free, but cracks were forming there too. Joseph became more controlling as the pressure increased. He worried about the lawsuit. He worried about the media. He worried about the baby and the legal complications surrounding paternity. Private arguments replaced the honeymoon phase. Elizabeth began to realize that the calm, understanding man she fell for was changing. Still, she pressed forward. She believed the court would side with her. She believed love would be enough. The day of the hearing arrived quietly, but the tension was overwhelming. The courtroom was packed. Media waited outside. Inside, Andrei sat stiffly beside his attorney, calm but visibly strained. Elizabeth entered later, pregnant, dressed conservatively, Joseph seated behind her. They didn't look at each other. The judge listened as Andrei's lawyer laid out the case, the affair, the timeline, the pregnancy conceived during the marriage, the financial transactions. Text messages were read aloud. Bank records were displayed. The evidence painted a clear picture. Elizabeth's attorney tried to argue that the money was a gift, that Andrei was acting out of spite, that the relationship had already been emotionally over. But the documents told a different story. Elizabeth's own messages contradicted her claims. When Elizabeth took the stand, her voice shook. She admitted to the affair. She admitted to borrowing money. But she insisted she never intended to commit fraud. She said she felt trapped in her marriage. She said she was acting out of desperation and fear. The judge listened carefully. Joseph was called as a witness. Under questioning, inconsistencies emerged. Dates didn't line up. Financial explanations fell apart. His calm confidence faded as pressure mounted. After hours of testimony, the courtroom fell silent as the judge delivered the ruling. Elizabeth was found legally responsible for the $55,000. The court determined the money had been borrowed under false pretenses and intentionally withheld. It was classified as financial fraud. The judge also ruled that because the child was conceived while Elizabeth was still married, Andrei was legally presumed to be the father under state law, pending further legal action. Elizabeth broke down for the first time. The sentence followed shortly after. 5 months in prison. Gasps filled the courtroom. Joseph stood frozen. Andrei closed his eyes. Elizabeth was taken into custody that same day. The news spread instantly. Social media erupted. Fans were divided. Some expressed sympathy for Elizabeth, calling her a woman who made mistakes. Others condemned her actions, siding with Andrei and calling the outcome justice. Andrei didn't celebrate. He felt empty. In the weeks that followed, Elizabeth adjusted to life behind bars. The reality of her choices settled in quickly. There were no cameras, no Joseph, no comforting words, just long days, restless nights, and the weight of regret. She wrote letters she never sent. She replayed decisions over and over, wondering where things went wrong. Joseph visited at first, then less often. Eventually, he stopped coming altogether. Andrei focused on his daughter. He returned to a quiet routine, trying to rebuild some sense of normalcy. Therapy became part of his life. Slowly, he allowed himself to process the pain instead of running from it. He never spoke publicly about Elizabeth again. When Elizabeth was released months later, the world had moved on. The spotlight was gone. The relationship with Joseph was over. The life she imagined no longer existed. She returned to a reality far different from the one she left. Andrei and Elizabeth would remain connected forever through their child and the legal aftermath of their marriage. But the love was gone. What remained were lessons, scars, and consequences. A story that began as a fairy tale ended as a warning. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't just break hearts. It breaks lives.